Welcome, Evan. Thanks so much for taking the time for this conversation.
You're very welcome.
Hmm. I'm going to preface this with saying that this is a very special client interview for me because Evan and I go way back, let's say. We had our first session like 4.5 years ago. Um, and yeah, it's been a huge privilege for me to be part of and the support of somebody else's life for, over such a long period. Because obviously you get to witness so many changes and transformations. So that's one of the reasons why this is a special conversation. And the other one is that the coaching work that I've been doing with Evan is somewhat different than the coaching that I do with most of my clients these days because it's not primarily business focused. It's more of like a somatic integration work, uh, soul connecting. Maybe Evan will have other words for this as well. Um, However, and that's the reason why I wanted to have this conversation with you, Evan, is there have been some really huge milestones in your work life, in your business, um, that our coaching uh, supported you on, and that will be the focus of this conversation. Otherwise, we could probably sit here for 3 hours and talk about a lot of different things that have happened over those last 4.5 years.
Well, definitely.
Yeah, so that's the preface that I wanted to give. Again, thank you so much, Evan, for taking the time. Um, would
It's my
you?
honor. It's my honor. Yeah. It's also been an honor to be supported all that time with you.
Mhm.
So yeah. I mean, let me let you ask your question and then I'll start.
Yeah, we also have a lot of fun in our sessions.
Very true.
So can you briefly introduce yourself for people who don't know you? Um, what do you do professionally? Um, yeah, that is like the main focus. If there's anything else you want to bring in, you can, like the short version.
Okay. So my name's Evan Lenz, and I am a software engineer and business owner. Uh, I have a family, 3 kids, and of spiritual focus in my life. And my one of my biggest challenges has been career contentment. Uh, Over many years, I've had discontentment around computer programming as a career. There's more that I wanted, looking at other careers, looking at um, ways to make my job more. And it's kind of like the process for me has been kind of bringing the professional and personal life more together. So greater integration, greater wholeheartedness.
Mhm.
And I, I think in 2012, I vowed that I would never do this career anymore, software engineering. And I took a big leap at that point, and but still came back to consulting because I still wanted to pay my bills. And I'm happy to report that although I'm still in that career in the consulting profession, um, I'm in a place that's so much more wholehearted, that has qualities that I love and a direction that I'm going in. And it's going to change quite a bit, even more, not because I'm discontent or unhappy, but because I'm accomplishing bigger things,
Mm,
and they're becoming stepping stones to bigger things. Yeah.
nice, beautiful, love it. Thank you. Um, can you just say one more word about you first said software engineer and then consulting, just for people to understand how that's related or yeah, what the
Sure.
relationship is.
Yeah. So I started a regular job at a startup company in Seattle in 2000, and then I had a couple jobs. Uh, went back to school for digital arts, but ended up making the most money at the time by taking hourly consulting clients, so computer contracting essentially. So what always exactly consulting. Sometimes we call it consulting when really you're doing custom software development. So I was doing custom software development for different clients. I kind of fell into it because I had the opportunity to co-author some books and speak at conferences and things like that. And so people started calling me because I had been marketing without really knowing it. I was just having fun. I was just doing my thing. I wasn't thinking on marketing for business, but it
Mhm.
ended up being that way.
Mhm.
Uh, and so anyway, that's kind of how I got started. And then I first incorporated my business in 2009. I had one short 2 year stint as an employee, and then continued the consulting ever since then.
Nice. Great. So one of the things that we worked on early on in our coaching was um in several different occasions, this theme around stepping away from charging hourly rates to something else. Um, can you just say a bit about that? Like, what was it that we did that helped you step into something that felt more aligned than just getting paid by the hour?
Sure. Yeah, and that was something that I wanted to get away from, like the hourly billing, many times in my career. Um, and I've succeeded in the past with different help. Doing value-based fees for projects in the past. But with my most recent long-term client, started in 2015, still have a great relationship with them. I that was sort of the only way to engage, and sort of I kind of pushed to say, can I do it differently? And it's like, well, no, not really. It's like, okay.
Mhm.
and um but it was such a good relationship that we just got into a routine, and it was fine. It was paying the bills, which I was really grateful for. um but there were times when I've worked with David to help me. Like I had another client that um I had for several years, and I did a initial project with him that was a value-based fee, so it was like one discrete fee. And then after that, there's probably talk about continuing for maintenance, doing hourly billing or something. And I really don't want to do that. And I don't remember exactly what the mental block was for me, but I do remember it was a call with you where the clarity came through, which was, oh, I can do a monthly retainer for so many dollars a month, and then just be sort of available to fix things uh, as we go. And the effective hourly rate with that client was just, I'd almost be embarrassed to calculate it because it was quite high. And then later he wanted me to engage more, and at first I was worried I'm not working enough. Then I realized no, he wanted to pay me more. So I was like, okay. So I doubled the retainer. um and eventually we parted ways just because of like different technology directions that he wanted to go in, and that didn't match my expertise. But it was a good engagement. I learned some things. In fact, I'm applying some of those things to my business now. But
Can I just
yeah, it
jump?
was.
Can I just jump in for a
Please,
second? Because I think
please,
there's something
please.
there that, obviously, like most of my clients are not necessarily in the same field as you are, but I think one thing that you just shared does apply a lot to most of my clients, which is, you said that you felt like that the effectively what you were being paid by the hour was like a lot, and you were like, oh my God, how in some way, like, how can I justify that? Whereas most likely for your client, like what they wanted was getting done. So he was really happy. And I think that's one of the cool things about stepping away from hourly rates is ultimately, if we work with someone, they want a problem to be fixed. Like they want something to work or to work better or to change. And if we can make that happen, they're happy. They're not necessarily like calculating how many hours it took you to help them to make that happen. It's like, well, they want something to work, and if you can make that happen, they're most likely happy.
Yeah, and not to jump ahead too much, but and this is a little preview of what we'll talk about, I think, but my current client, where I'm not doing hourly anymore, has the same exact attitude and has said, you know, if you guys finish this early, I'd be happy to just write that final check. You know, it's not
Yeah.
like he's thinking, oh, they're getting away with a great deal or anything. No, he wants this thing done early, right? Our interests are aligned.
Yeah.
That's one of the things about the hourly model. I know it's useful in a lot of contexts, and I've used it, and I'm not like morally against it or anything like that. But the business model is kind of working against you because you are not focused on basically efficiency doesn't pay. You know what pays? Inefficiency.
Yep.
You know, taking longer. And so you have your you wouldn't want to think that you have such low character that you would just chain yourself to the desk and like, I don't know, be checking your phone and being distracted all day and getting paid for that. Yet your business model is working against you. So you're not structurally motivated in your business to get more done in less time. You're actually structurally motivated to get less done in more time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not, like I said, it's not absolute rule, but if you can align your interests with your client in terms of getting things done faster, then it's a win-win.
Yep. So to translate that to what I do with most of my clients around creating a transformational offer for clients, the equivalent would be uh, thinking that if I create a container that's, takes 9 months and weekly calls, that that would be better because I put more time into this, even if like I have a container that's 4 months and it actually takes less time, but it's just more effective in the way that it's structured. And that I should somehow get paid more for the 9 month container. So that it just doesn't make sense. So it's just like a shift for people. That's really powerful though, because what it does is it untangles this weird relationship between working time and money, and it actually opens up possibilities to really go exponential. Because if you focus on solving problems, you can do that in so many ways, and yeah, you're just less tied to the amount of hours that you have per day.
Yeah, I can just imagine someone saying, you know, you could say, how soon would you like this transformation?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I'll have it in 4 months. Or, you know, I don't really need it for 9 months. Well, that's going to cost you more. Like,
Exactly. And obviously, uh, what we don't want to fall into is promising things that then don't happen. Like, I think that's something that happens a lot in the coaching industry. Like, you know, lose 30 pounds in 7 days or something like this. Like, I'm not interested in that, but I think it's cool to activate the possibility of like, hey, if you really put in the work, you can experience significant changes and improvements in a relatively short amount of time.
yes, that's very true in the context of coaching. The
Yep.
number one responsible person is the person being coached.
Yep. Yeah. Sweet. So, the other thing we wanted to talk about was, as I said in the beginning of this conversation, that the work that we've been doing is the coaching work is quite focused on somatics, on embodiment, on integration. And I would love for you to share more about how that work has helped you um, bring together more your personal life and work life, or like make your work life more wholehearted, like you were saying in the beginning. Just
Mm,
because obviously, like the connection is, it's a non-linear connection. It's not like we uh, in certain occasions it was like quite focused on business, but then in other times it was not at all, but still like there were uh things that really helped you move closer to what you want in your business life. So yeah, I'd love to hear what you have to say on that.
I would say fundamentally what you have supported in me is more embodiment of my soul. So I'm not just a computer geek and entrepreneur. I'm also kind of a mystic. And we really connect at a deep level
Hmm.
on many planes. And I would say that your attunement skills have facilitated a deepening of presence in my own body, and by extension in my life. A great example of that is that I think our first call was in June of 2019, and August 2019 is when I had my first acting role in a play festival. And I kind of credit that finally getting into acting, which is something I'd always been interested in, to some trauma therapy. But in some ways, I had more kind of trauma therapy through my coaching with you. And since then, I've done 13 plays locally in 6 different organizations, or 13 acting engagements of all kinds. And so it feels like I've done this whole other career, and it feels a lot more fulfilled too. Like it feels less. I mean, it's real. It's real. I did it. It's not a fantasy anymore.
Mhm.
And so that's one example. Another would be just an increasing openness to bringing more of myself into my work, whatever it is. Because I've had kind of a compartmentalization in myself between, this is my work life, the people I talk about computers with, you know, and maybe they'll know I'm spiritual, but only if like we get really close, or, you know. But now there's just a much more freer sharing of who I am without being weird or overly woo-woo in an inappropriate context, or, you know, it's like,
Mhm.
but it's just part of who I am. So I can go on a business trip and play the part and be an entrepreneur, you know, make sales to the CEO, and lead a team, which, by the way, jumping ahead again, I just started. As I've been kind of a lone wolf for most of my career, and recently, just in the last couple months, hired some people, and I could not be happier with my team, and we're accomplishing great things. So yeah, I think that's also the other aspect that I'm learning is part of embodiment is not just feeling your own body and being more acquainted with your individual engagement in the physical world, but it's also the communal engagement and collaboration. I've always been into community, but this is a new level of collaboration, particularly on the business side that I'm engaging in. And my work with you has been supportive of that all the way through. You're right, it's not a linear thing. It's not an even progression. There's leaps, there's big jumps, where, you know, there's all this growth that's happening underground, and then all of a sudden it flowers. And you're like, wow, all that work, all that work, all that presence paid off. So yeah, so I'm in kind of a harvest season in a way, reaping a lot of the rewards of this work in my life, which is, and you've been the most present and consistent support that I've had. I have a lot of different supports, you know, in different areas that have come and gone, but you've been the longest term, most present support in my life, and I keep coming back to it. And I'm very, very grateful.
Mhm.
Mhm.
The pun comes to my mind that it's not been an it's not been an even progression, it's been an even progression.
Yes, which, yes.
Sweet.
I'll be thinking about that more, what that means exactly.
Good. Okay, so I heard a couple of things. So one thing you didn't say that explicitly, but when you were talking about your acting career, um, one thing that came up a lot in our coaching calls was uh, navigating different passions and just different things you were spending your time on and making sure that they don't sabotage each other. Like
Mm.
this is a pattern that I know for myself and from a lot of clients is kind of there's something new and it's so exciting and you want to go all in, but then you sacrifice other things in your life that are actually going well, but you kind of disregard it because there's like this new thing and you want to fully, jump in. And I think that that's something that you've massively integrated over the past years, this ability to mm, like stay true and follow your passion and excitement, but in a much more grounded way where, you wouldn't lose sight of other things in your life that were just already going well.
Yes, definitely. So my pattern has been to discover some new thing, be totally entranced by it, stay up 2 nights in a row learning about it, in some cases, and then burn out almost as fast as possible.
Yep.
um, and variations on that theme, which is kind of discouraging. Um,
Yep.
and one of the things that I've learned, there's a couple big things I've learned. One is that um, saying yes to something means saying no to other things, at least for now. It doesn't mean all those interests and ambitions that I have are dead forever. No, some of them just need to wait. Some of them aren't ready, and that's okay. So um, the other thing is that will is something that you develop,
Mm,
and that when you do what you say you were going to do, especially just to yourself, then you're strengthening your will. And when you don't, you're weakening it.
mm,
And before, I hadn't made that connection until last year, and now I'm conscious of it. It's like when I don't do something out. So I always look at even the arbitrary things. Like, well, I said I was gonna, you know, go up for a walk on the beach, at this time. I'm not meeting anyone. No one's expecting me there or anything like that. Um, but not only do I know it's rejuvenating and I'll enjoy it, but I'm also strengthening my will when I say I'm going to go do it just because I said I was going to do it. And it's not a moralistic thing. It's just I want to be more effective in the world, and this
mm.
is how I can become that way.
Yep.
Um, so those are two of the things that I've learned. What was the question again? Because I know there was
Oh,
more
you
to
went
it.
on a tangent. I was kind of
Yeah.
reflecting back to you the thing about navigating different ideas, passions, and just
Ah,
finding more a way of kind of like adjusting the puzzle pieces so that actually everything has its place rather than like here's the new thing,
yeah.
old stuff
Right.
gone.
Yeah. It's it's a bit of a balance, of course. And I so I'm taking a break from theater right now in order to focus on business, especially as I'm getting started with this new project. Um, and in fact, yesterday I turned down a role. I got offered a role yesterday, which was I had already been cast in it before the pandemic, and I was so looking forward to it. So I was
Mm,
very, very tempted. Um, but then the next day I was pretty at peace with letting go of it because I realized there's like family commitments, wanting to see my son before he goes off to college. Um, see him more often in like his track meets and things like that. And then just keeping the number one focus on the business right now at number one.
Mm,
So, and I know that I'll be able to revisit some of these different things.
mhm.
Um,
Nice.
yeah.
Cool. Yeah, we'll come to like the recent business developments a bit more. I just want to reflect back two things in what you were sharing about your process. So one is around being more of who you are in all the different contexts and kind of shedding some of the layers of like, well, I cannot show myself with this here, and I kind of have to compartmentalize and like be a bit of a different person in different contexts, which is kind of for me what you were talking about as well with like the bringing personal life and professional life closer together. And then the last thing, and this is actually maybe a good bridge to what you've been up to recently, is around leadership. Like I've really seen you step so much more into leadership in the past. I mean, I can think a couple of different occasions come to mind where I feel like you were already stepping into something in the past years, and obviously now with what you're doing business wise is like managing a team. That's like maybe the most evident uh way that you've stepped into your leadership.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for witnessing that and naming that. Um, I don't think I told you, but my word for the year is leadership. So, yep, you're tuned in as usual. Um, and the word witness means a lot to me, just in the context of our coaching, because uh, we've had a lot of calls, not quite 100,
Almost.
um, almost. And sometimes, most of the time, there's something that I kind of want to work on that I could use reflection on or feedback, just processing. And other times, just your witness to something that I want to share has been very powerful in terms of, for example, honoring the growth that I have undergone and treating it as sacred and revering it,
Mm,
which, yeah, it's like a celebratory thing.
mm,
It's ex, expressing gratitude,
mm,
that kind of thing. So it's that feels like an important part of the process, and that comes in cycles.
mhm.
And I also forgot the question again.
Yeah, I mean, we're almost at the end of our time anyway. Maybe just if you want to just celebrate,
Leadership. That's
now, yeah, just celebrate what like the leap that you've took business wise in the last months and how it's been unfolding.
yeah. So my son is going to run in college. He got accepted to a school that has an awesome uh, cross country and track team, and it's a private school and it's expensive. And I realized, oh, I'm not making enough money to pay for it. Um, and I had a moment of reckoning last October, I think, and got some coaching. Next morning, I woke up with a realization of what I needed to do. I needed to transform my relationship with my client overnight, essentially by quitting, taking a leap. It was scary. And then proposing, come back and take on a failing project um, as Lens Consulting Group and hiring a team. And I also, that moment of reckoning was actually a surrender, because a lot of tears came with it, because it
Mm,
was a lot of resistance that I felt to giving more wholeheartedly in my work and facing, where am I in my life right now? What is the work that I'm doing? And I realized everything was pointing to that. The stars aligned, so to speak. organizationally in the client, in myself, in my circumstances, and the timing of the project. Um, like I said, it was scary. It was not a shoe-in kind of deal because I was dealing with executives that I'd never spoken to. And but it has gone wonderfully so far. And I'm in the middle of it. I have to make wise decisions every day in order to succeed in this project. But I'm so much more engaged in my work and so much more motivated. And I'm actually working longer hours, but I'm still getting my sleep most of the time and seeing my family, just being recognizing how foundational the balance is, the spiritual practices, all those sorts of things are essential. That's included in the wise decisions I need to make each day. So my work is exciting now, even when I'm just slogging through some stupid technical problem, overcoming that adversity because I have a goal that I'm working toward. And I have a goal for a couple of years down the road, and financial goal. And none of this would have been possible had I not taken this leap and made and set a goal and reviewed it every day. And so I'm on a track now, and I know it doesn't have to be the be all and end all of my life, but it's what I'm doing right now, and I'm doing it wholeheartedly.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Awesome. And and you are on track to be able to fund your son's college?
Yes, I am. Yes, I
Right.
am. And I have to succeed at this project, but there will be follow-on projects if I do. And I'm the projections are that, yeah, just like that. I go from essentially at least doubling my income. Yeah, which means that I'll be able to pay for his college. So yeah.
Amazing. Cool. Well, I'm looking at the time, so let's bring this to an end. Yeah, I mean, obviously, big thank you for for showing up for all these years. Also
Oh
for
yeah.
sharing now your process and your insights and um, your transformation. Is there any last thing that feels important for you to name to bring in the space before we bring it to an end?
Yeah, I would just say that what has made your coaching so effective in my life, in addition to your high degree of skill in attunement, listening, coaching, your ability to notice when I'm kind of going off track and then bringing me back into that most fertile area of transformation. That really is. You bring me back to that moment of transformation because I will go off into talking about blah, blah, blah. And you're like, yeah. And I'm
Mm,
like, no, but I was interested in that. Okay. No, I've learned to stay with you
mm,
because you've allowed me to stay in the that kind of channel of my own most effective growth or transformation.
mm,
And it feels like that. It feels like bringing me back into the river, bringing me back into my spine,
mm,
that channel, that flow.
mm,
Uh, in it, not only do you bring that skill, but it's your heart
mm,
and the love that you bring.
mm,
I can only imagine to all your clients, and I see that lion on the wall above you. So I definitely experience you as a lion-hearted
mm,
man, and I've been very blessed to work with you.
mm. It's a lovely ending. Thank you for that. It touches me to hear that. Um, yeah, let's wrap it up here. I look forward to a follow-up conversation, maybe in 4.5 years, or maybe sooner. Let's
Sounds
see.
good.
Um, yeah.
Well, that cost me more though. That'll cost me more sooner.
We'll talk about that.
Okay.
Sweet. Yeah. Thank you for your time, Evan. I know you're busy. So yeah.
Thank you, David. Appreciate it. Yeah.